Welcome to Down the Road. We got a big day planned for you today. We're going to get a chance to visit with Minnesota, talk fact, talk fiction when it comes to the vaccine. Also, we're going to get a chance to visit with the Community Alliance for Responsible Education. Should it be distance learning? Should it be classroom learning? Should it be a little bit of both? We'll get a chance to visit with Lori Klein about that. And we'll get a chance to talk about the Minnesota legislative session. $216 million is heading out in a relief bill for a special session. Why aren't we all doing that? I mean, why? Why aren't we getting money to these small businesses that are struggling so hard? Also, we get a chance to visit with Callie Peterson. I've watched this person grow into an amazing young North Dakotan that has such a bright future ahead of her. Callie is the editor of North Dakota Living magazine. A lot of you know what that is. It's like must reading for me. Absolutely love it. And then, it's going to be a different Christmas, isn't it? We'll get a chance to talk about that. But first, there's so much fiction going on when it comes to the vaccine. There's so many people who want to spread rumors when it comes to the vaccine. Obviously, the vaccine is getting out there, and it's getting out to the people it needs to get out to. It's getting out to healthcare workers, front-line healthcare workers. Do you remember when New York was the focal point and New Jersey was the focal point? The reason that the whole nation's attention went on those was because, they got slammed. They got slammed, and they got slammed first, as well as the West Coast with Washington State. But in New York, they didn't have enough healthcare workers. They didn't have enough people to meet the demands that were there in terms of the people that just needed help from COVID. I mean, they just needed help from COVID, and they didn't have the healthcare workers. There were a lot of North Dakotans, South Dakotans, Montanans, and Minnesotans. Many of the people that are watching down the road right now know someone in the medical field that packed up their bags and headed to Minnesota. I have someone in my family that was ready to head there. In the end, she didn't because they caught up. They caught up and they said, okay, some of you guys wait in reserve, but for now, we're okay. So that's how bad it was. So to sit there and argue about who should get this vaccine first is a complete waste of time for me. It is. I mean, I don't know if it is for you as well, but frontline medical workers who are taking on this dreaded pandemic and this dreaded disease are the ones that need to be taken care of first, plain and simple. The other individuals that you got to look to after that are the elderly, where we're losing so many of them. And all these people that, it's pointed out they have pre-existing condition. I'm really tired of hearing that because I lost a friend to COVID in the last week. And that friend I lost, we can talk about his pre-existing condition. I don't know what it was. I don't know. I don't know what was in his pillbox. I do know that my friend would be here today if it wasn't for COVID. And I'd still be working with him in radio if it wasn't for COVID. So for you individuals that, number one, say it's no different than the flu, come on. By now you must know that that's an absolutely ridiculous argument. For you individuals that say, you know what, it's just about pre-existing conditions and they were going to die anyway. Does that make you the Christian you claim to be? You're now deciding who's going to die and when they can die because you can just walk around and do anything you want and leave everything wide open? I mean, come on. Have more common sense than that as well. I mean, it's let me give you an example, okay? I know someone that was in a small town Senex, the place where they all sit around and shoot a little dice and talk about who's ever going to pay for that coffee or that roll in the morning. You know that. I mean, you know that same place. It's in your community, isn't it? Well, in my particular case, it was in a community very close to me. One of the individuals that was in that Senex that day had lost both of his parents to COVID. One was in her mid-80s. The other was in his early 90s. So many people were out there saying, well, these two were going to die anyway. Really? Really? So they didn't have any more grandkids' basketball games they wanted to go to. They didn't have any more Christmas meals that they wanted to attend with their friends. You're now going to make that choice that they were going to die anyway? Then we had an individual from our home area walk in, individual with a really high voice, so I always have to watch myself a little bit that I don't start trying to be him. But he comes in, he goes, they were going to die anyway. They were, this whole thing is just a political thing, and it's no different than the flu. That's what it is. The gentleman that just lost his parents was sitting there when he said this. What do you do? How do you deal with that? I mean, if you're my friend who is sitting at that table just wanting a cup of coffee, just wanting a roll, just wanting to talk farming with his neighbors and friends, what do you do? I can tell you what my friend did. He stood up. He didn't finish shaking dice. He paid for his coffee, paid for his roll, and he walked out. And one of his friends said, "Aren't you going to talk to him?" And he said, "Why? Why? Why would I talk to him? You can't fix stupid." And you can't. You can't fix stupid, but you sure can educate those you've got a chance to. And this is not the flu, ladies and gentlemen. It's not the flu. Dr. Nick Leinertz is going to join us right now. He's with the Minnesota Department of Health Medical Specialist. Dr. Nick, good to have you going down the road with us.
Yeah, thanks very much, Jordan, for having me.
Want to talk to you a little bit about the people that we know that are infected with COVID. When we talk about the shot, when we talk about immunity, and we talk about that vaccine, what first comes to mind for you?
And my first thought, Jordan, is that if you have the opportunity to receive the vaccine, it's a no-brainer. You get the vaccine.
Well, for me, Joel Heitkamp, I've had COVID. I mean, I've had it. So I would guess I'm going to be at the end of the line. And quite frankly, Dr. Leinertz, I should be at the end of the line. I mean, that's the approach that's got to be taken, I would guess.
Yeah, well, right now, due to the limited number of vaccine that's out there, and so obviously we have to prioritize. And I believe, like you mentioned earlier, prioritizing for Group 1A has been done already, looking at frontline healthcare workers and then also residents of long-term care facilities, the elderly, those at high risk. And so as we obtain more vaccine, those prioritization groups, will start expanding out. And we take all the factors into consideration, like you mentioned, like risk factors and risk of exposure, and then, individuals who maybe don't have those factors. And so that hasn't been determined right now because of the limited supply. We've only come up with prioritization 1A, which is those healthcare workers and the long-term care residents, and we'll know more as we get more vaccine down the road.
So, Dr. Leinertz, when you look at this, individuals like me, because we went through this, Sanford has a big footprint here in the upper Midwest, as you know, and Sanford Hospital was managed by Kelby Krabenhoff at the time. He said that, and he put an email out to his staff, which is beyond me, but he said to the complete staff of Sanford that he didn't feel and wouldn't wear a mask because he had COVID, and that, he couldn't spread this virus. What's your thoughts on that?
There is evidence in the literature of true reinfection, after an initial episode of infection. And so we do know it is possible. We are in the process of studying sort of duration of immunity, which is after you've been exposed to the virus. How long are you then, immune? It used to be that we weren't sure, and now it looks like the evidence suggests that for at least 3 months or 90 days after initial infection, the risk of reinfection is very, very, very low. But again, we have to mitigate risks, and we just don't have enough evidence right now to say definitively that just because you've had it once, you're not going to give it to other people.
So should I still be wearing a mask?
Yes.
Okay. What about those individuals that get the shot? So should they still be wearing a mask?
Absolutely, they should. And the reason is because it's not like an instantaneous response to the vaccination just like that. All of a sudden you're immune, and it takes the body a while to develop the immunity. And during that time, while you're building up sort of your immune response, you can still, in theory, transmit the virus. And so they recommend right now that even after you receive the vaccination, 6 weeks after the second dose, you should still be wearing a mask.
Okay.
And we talk about this. We're all in this together, and this sort of thing. I think it's part of the way we want to be it's solidarity. It's that we are all in this together, and so let's all do our part. And seeing other people wear a mask, I think it just spreads that message as well.
Well, and how are you going to know? Are you going to put a name card on and say, look, I've had the vaccine? Or how is the person next to you in the grocery store or in the gas station going to know that you've had the vaccine?
Correct.
Is my point. And so if you're not wearing a mask, does it send a signal? Does it tell people that, hey, I'm better than you, I don't have to wear a mask? Or, do you run around saying, I've had the shot, which to me makes absolutely no sense. I want to talk about the vaccines info. I want to talk about truth versus myth. If there were a couple of myths that you could just put out the fire on, Dr. Lennertz, and just say, look, that's not true, what would they be?
I guess the first one is that when you get a vaccination, that you have a risk of becoming infected with COVID-19, and that's not true. We don't use active live virus or attenuated virus. We use parts of sort of the proteins that are on the outside of the virus that stimulate the immune response. And so the question is can I get COVID-19 from receiving the vaccination? The answer is no.
Okay, so there's a lot of people talking to me on my radio show who have very strong beliefs that tie into their religion, and they're saying that the vaccine is made from the fetuses of unborn babies. What do I tell them?
No, it's not.
Right, and you can tell them sometimes until you're blue in the face, but good luck with it. I have tried. Want to talk a little bit, if I can, about when it comes. When that vaccine gets to the people that may not be on the front line of needing it, but just want the world opened up again. Give me a date, if you had to bet your last $100 in your wallet, of when you think the vast majority or the herd immunity of Americans will have the vaccine.
Yeah, sure. You mentioned $100 in my wallet. I have kids, and so I don't remember the last time I had $100 in my wallet.
I have grandkids, so trust me.
Sure. I look for, and this is, don't quote me on this and stuff, but I believe the fall. I would say the fall of 2021.
Really?
I think we look for that time period, but by the time logistically we get everybody rolled out and we get everybody accepting the fact of the vaccine and just it's because logistically it takes time. It takes time. So there's going to be a certain percentage of the population who are not going to be take it right away. They may want to wait and see sort of what the response of other people's are, and it's a logistical timing type. It's just going to take a while, and so I would say. No, in time for the fall.
That's not the best news I heard. When I get on my pontoon.
But I hope I'm wrong. I hope it's sooner.
I do too. I understand it. I asked, so I can't be afraid of the answer. I just don't want to be riding on my pontoon with just me and my wife wearing a mask. That's the spoiled part of me. Doctor,
Sure.
Thanks for going down the road with us.
You're very welcome, sir. Thank you.
I appreciate it. When we come back, Lori Klein. Lori's got some strong opinions on whether or not we should be holding classes in classrooms. Let's visit with her right after this.
Capital City Restaurant Supply is your one-stop shop for quality restaurant products for the large to small kitchens. Commercial-grade restaurant and bar supplies, limb game processing equipment, refrigeration, dinnerware, and smallware. We sell everything including the kitchen sink from trusted manufacturers for the chef and all of us. Open to the public since 1971, we are veteran-owned and North Dakota proud. Let us take care of your restaurant and home kitchen needs today by visiting us at 1414 Interstate Loop in Bismarck or on the web at capitalcityrestaurantsupply.com.
Hi, I'm Dennis Haugen, along with my sons Andy and Mike, and we're showing our support for wind energy in North Dakota.
Wind energy has provided farmers like us with a steady stream of income that's not tied to the weather like crops and cattle are.
Another bonus is that wind farm owners are required to maintain the roads leading up to the turbines. Because of that, oftentimes these roads are the best in the county.
Wind energy is good for landowners, it's good for the land, it's good for our economy, and it's good for North Dakota.
For the greatest selection and full menu offering, it's the Four Seasons Restaurant and Ice Cream Parlor in Garrison. Succulent sandwiches, big breakfasts served all day, and delicious desserts. Easy access in and out for campers and RVs. The Four Seasons Restaurant at the top of Main Street, Garrison.
Are you a thrill seeker, sightseer, or day tripper? The Ford Bronco Sport SUV is built for you. Four Bears Casino is giving away a 2021 Ford Bronco Sport loaded with a ton of interior space, safari-style roof, smooth suspension for any terrain, and easy-to-clean surfaces. Qualify now just by playing your favorite slots at Four Bears Casino. Double points on Sundays. Also get in on Super Senior Wednesdays, slot turning Thursdays, and hot seats on Wednesdays and Thursdays. Spin into Four Bears Casino and Lodge for chances to win.
Some things in life are hard. That's why banking shouldn't be. Cornerstone Bank.
You know, should students be in schools? I don't know any teacher in the world that doesn't believe that a student can do better in a classroom than what they can do at home. Let's recognize that in the beginning. But because of health concerns for everyone, the question becomes, should students be in schools? Lori Klein is with Community Alliance for Responsible Education. She also has Gilbert with her. So I just want to say hi to Gilbert because Gilbert's a redhead and I'm pretty partial to redheads. Lori, good to have you going down the road with us.
Hey, it's really great to be with you today, Jill. Thanks a lot.
Want to talk to you a little bit about some of your concerns. First off, tell people what CARE is.
Well, CARE is a group of teachers, para-educators, school staff, parents, neighbors, anyone who has kids or an educator in school and who is concerned about what's going on in the middle of this pandemic.
Well, certainly in the Fargo public school system, there's been an organization of individuals that, quite frankly, aren't in that classroom that want people to be in that classroom.
Yeah.
And so is this a reaction to that? Is this a reaction of individuals that say, wait a second, you don't just get to say this without being challenged?
Right, exactly. Well, you know, I don't think it is, honestly. I think this is a very science-driven, very personal concern. And I know that lots of times when we're writing articles or setting up stories for the news, they're more compelling if there are opposing sides. And this has always been the case, especially for moms. Are you a working mom? Are you a stay-at-home mom? And like we're pitted against each other. We're all just making the very best decisions we can for our kids. So we don't see ourselves in opposition really to any particular group. But watching this pandemic move, especially in our area, and just kind of explode through October and November, got us very concerned about the decision-making regarding what learning model should we be in right now.
Well, I can understand that because, again, I'm somebody that isn't in that room. Lori, you're a teacher, are you not?
I'm a pianist and I'm an accompanist. So I'm staff accompanist at NDSU and in Moorhead Public Schools. I've played all around the community at Concordia and you know, all around. So I do some teaching, but I'm not a public school teacher. My husband does teach 8th grade math, which to me is like, why? Okay. It's middle school and it's math. Why? But he loves it. He loves being in that classroom every day with middle school kids, working on math. Not my cup of tea, but he loves it.
That's got to be one of the hardest things to do. I loved math. When it was time for math, that was fine. When it was time for history, obviously, political science for me. You put me in a room with science itself, and I start shaking my head. You put me in front of that piano, that you're sitting by right now, and have Sister Solitaris from old St. Francis hitting me on the knuckles, then it's a bad day too. I'm just going to tell you. But Lori, to have a husband every morning that wakes up and is required through his job to be in that classroom, when you're at home having a conversation about that, what do you say? What do you talk to each other about?
Well, I can tell you for sure that this is his second career. He went back to school specifically to be able to teach middle school kids math. And so neither one of us are, young people at this point, but we never in a million years expected him to be needed to be fit for an N95 mask to be safe in a classroom. And, Fargo schools are offering those, and we're glad that they are, and he's, going to take advantage of it. But when we were planning back in August, July, August, September, the schools gave us some very specific parameters and indicators that they were going to use to make their decisions about should we be in hybrid learning, when will we shift to distance learning. They were pretty specific about that, and they asked parents and teachers to make their decisions based on what they said they were going to do. And so we felt pretty comfortable putting him back in the classroom with social distancing in place, with everybody wearing a mask, the class sizes smaller than full classrooms. We were pretty comfortable with that. We felt pretty confident. And then as our area, the cases just became more and then accelerated right into November, the district sort of abandoned those things that they had said they were going to do, and it left parents who decided their kids were going to be okay in school and teachers who had decided they were going to be okay in school in a really tough place, because all of a sudden those metrics were not there.
So, Lori, let me play devil's advocate with you a little bit. Okay, so your husband went into education. That was his second career, and he did so because of his passion for education, his passion for teaching. Why then would he not want to be in that classroom? Why would he then not want to see these students face to face?
Well, I'll tell you, teachers more than anybody dislike distance learning because they know that they're more effective and they're more experienced in the classroom with kids face to face. And that's 100% where he wants to be. That's 100% where every teacher I know, every parent I know wants their kids in school face to face. That is absolutely what we want. But we're in a situation that nobody could foresee. Nobody imagined where we would be. When we started school, the school said if we get to a case rate of 50 per 100,000, and that's a really important number for us to kind of be able to grapple with. If we got to a place where we had 50 cases per 100,000, we would pull back. We blew right by that in October and kept going. So nobody understood what was going to happen, and nobody wants to stay in distance learning forever. In fact, when you poll teachers, educators, and parents, they all come out at about the same place. In November, they did these polls not 6 months ago, not a year ago, but last month, 77% of them want us to be in either distance or hybrid. And in my experience and what I see in polling from teachers, they would stay in hybrid even if it was a higher risk. Yeah. They would stay there so they can maintain some contact with their students. They'd be happy to stay there. But this returning elementary kids and now older kids to full classrooms, no social distancing, while these numbers are still incredibly high, it's dangerous for everybody.
So, Lori, you never ran for the job. You didn't want the job, but here's the scenario I'm going to give you. Okay. We've got 1 minute remaining, and I'm going to put you on the school board, okay? What's the first motion you make on that school board?
The very first motion that I make is that we set some very clear metrics. I want a number. When are we going to start looking at staying in hybrid or returning to distance learning? Let's measure the severity of this outbreak, and let's put those numbers out there so they're clear to parents and teachers. And then let's maintain every mitigation strategy we have at hand. Quarantine, masking, social distancing. Let's maintain all of those until we get down to a place in our community where we know the spread is not out of control anymore.
So, Laura, let me just tell you now, you'd get a second of that motion if I'm on the school board. Problem is, I don't know whether you'd get a second to that motion if you were on many of the school boards in the listening area of Beck Communications. I don't know. I do know this. It's reasonable. It's reasonable to have this conversation. Thank you, Lori. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Want to come back and just talk a little bit about giving up in terms of when the election is over. I'm going to show you a quote from Senator Kevin Cramer right after this.
Jeez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
In southwestern and south central North Dakota, on any given day at any given moment, a Dakota Community Bank and Trust customer is logging in or signing on to do their online or mobile banking. We believe that community banking can blend both the past with down-home customer service in-house and the future with modern banking conveniences and technology for our customers anywhere, like here or here, all while honoring our long-standing tradition of community-first oriented banking here at Dakota Community Bank and Trust.
My wife was diagnosed with early stage Alzheimer's. We talked about it and we kind of decided we'd be a little bit proactive and try to start making provisions. So we started looking here, and Eventide worked out to be pretty much the perfect answer. I guess I didn't expect it to be so nice. The staff here are terrific. We enjoy it.
They say when the going gets tough, the tough get going. At OK Tire, we're here to keep you going. From Firestone tires and replacements to retreads and even Firestone tracks, we have you covered. Our certified Firestone experts are ready to get you back up and running, no matter if you're on site or in the field, saving you time and money. OK Tire, we keep the tough going.
Now is the best time to plan for your 2021 farm equipment needs. North Dakota-based Summers Manufacturing is currently offering early order savings. Take advantage of big savings on North America's broadest tillage line, including the Super Coulter Samurai and the innovative VRT Renegade, as well as the best built, best backed land rollers in the industry. Talk to your Summers dealer today or go to summersmfg.com to learn more about early order savings available on all Summers equipment.
Good to have you still going down the road with us. You know, it's time to quit. The bus has already left. You can't even shake hands anymore. I mean, that's the problem. Imagine being on that basketball team or that football team or that volleyball team, and you know, one team won, and the other, the team that won waited to shake hands and never came. The team that got beat never would come over to shake hands. Well, the team that won went into the locker room. And they showered up and they got on the bus and they're going home. The team that lost is sitting there trying to find ways to win, but the referees are gone as well. They called a good and fair game, and then they took off. Well, here we sit. We sit with a bunch of death threats. We sit with people out there walking around capitals with guns outside, talking about how we need armed guards to make sure electoral voters can get in to make sure they can cast their electoral vote for the Electoral College. We've gotten that bad through this administration. We have. I realize that many of the people that watch down the road don't agree with me politically. I'm okay with that. You know what? I've got my views. You have your views. That's the way the world works. And quite frankly, that makes the world a better place. But there are some things that we all agree on. We do. We all agree on. We know that elections have consequences and they matter. I would argue that 4 years ago, Hillary Clinton won by 3 million votes or close to it, but she lost. And the reason I know she lost is because the rules that we live under, which is the Electoral College, means she didn't win. Donald Trump was our president of the United States, still is, in fact, until January 20th. Those were the rules. Those were the rules. Now, whether or not I think it was a mistake, that's my opinion. You get to make your opinion. What I won't listen to is a couple of things. You'll have a tough time arguing with me that you worry about the national debt. Okay? You're going to have a really tough time arguing with me that your focus is on the national debt because Donald Trump has spent money like a drunk sailor for the last 4 years. You're going to have a really tough time arguing with me about morality in politics anymore. That, I think you lost the high ground on. You're also going to have a really tough time arguing with me on states' rights because during this whole election, what was done with Attorney General Wayne Stenehjem and the people that supported that move was to take away states' rights. Georgia ran a good, clean, counted 3 times by hand election, and they still got sued by the state of North Dakota over it. So don't tell me that the Republican Party is all in favor of state rights. I'm not buying that. Kevin Cramer, Senator Kevin Cramer, North Dakota's very own, made a statement. And that statement, I'm going to read it to you here, but that statement says, and this comes from Cramer, it says, well, it seems to me that being elected by the Electoral College is a threshold, keep in mind that word threshold, where a title like that is probably most appropriate. And it's, now we're talking about President-elect, obviously, most appropriate. And it's, I suppose you can say official, if there is such a thing as official President-elect or anything else elect. And there's an inauguration that will swear somebody in, and that person will be the President of the United States. But whether you call it that or not, you know there are legal challenges that are ongoing. Not very many, of course not very many. They lost all the other ones. Not very many, probably not a remedy that would change the outcome, but so I don't know how politician refers to another politician, but it does look to me like the big race is really between the inaugural committee and the Justice Department at this point. So we'll see how the emails turn out. Really? I mean, really, Senator Cramer, that's your statement? That's how you want to go into working with the next administration? I know what a big supporter you have been of Donald Trump's. I know that you have been willing to do anything you can for Donald Trump. I've made jokes about it on my radio show, that you'd shine his shoes. You'd mow his yard. You'd do a lot of things for him. I get that. I get that. You're a good and loyal servant. But here's one. Why not be that loyal to the United States of America? Why not? Why not be that loyal to the country that you held your right hand to and swore to uphold the Constitution of? Why not? Because here's the rules. The rules are we hold an election, you either win or lose a state. Those states then get to go to the Electoral College and they get to vote. It's happened. It's happened. To the point where your leader, Senator Cramer, your leader, a man named Mitch McConnell, a man that I disagree with more often than anybody in politics I've ever disagreed with, but I don't disagree with him on this one. He took to the Senate floor and he congratulated, wait for it, President-elect Joe Biden. In his words, President-elect Joe Biden. Why can't our very own senator do that? Why can't he? I don't know. Why would he make a statement that would play out in public on a national scale like this? Why? I don't get it. You know, loyalty is one thing, but the ship is going down. The race is over, and he needs to recognize that, and he needs to know that when he makes statements like this, really what he's doing Is he speaking on behalf of the people of North Dakota? And statements like this make us look like we got our heads stuck in the sand. This isn't between the Justice Department and the inaugural committee. On January 20th, Joe Biden will put his right hand to God, and he will swear to uphold, as the President of the United States, he will swear to uphold the Constitution of the United States of America. Other people have done it. The question you have to ask is, have they lived up to that oath that they swore? And that's a fair question. Statements like this make it an even more fair question. Want to talk about the Minnesota legislature? They're doing what I think North Dakota should have done and took it upon themselves, and possibly being reimbursed for it by the federal government. The Minnesota legislative session passed a $216 million relief bill during the last special session. Now, what does that do? It goes out, and it goes out to the places that need it. When you're going to close people down with their liquor license, when you're going to close people down under the whole, you have to quarantine, you can only have so many people, you have to separate tables, you have to do all those things, then the very people that have caused you to do that should be there to make sure you're whole on the financial side. They should be. For us not to have a PPP bill tells me that the United States Senate isn't doing their job. They're not. They're not doing their job. This bill needs to pass. And some might say that the House bill is flawed. Well, it is, but at least they passed a bill. Get in a conference committee and work out and hammer out the details. Sit down and find out what needs to happen to make sure that that money gets out to that small restaurant. It gets out to that, small front line right there on Main Street store. Gets out to that local bar that you want to be open after this whole thing's over. That's where the money needs to go. It doesn't need to go into the oil company's hands like North Dakota did. Doug Burgum sent over $60 million to the oil industry. And let me give you a little secret, ladies and gentlemen. The oil industry is doing fine. They're doing fine. They're doing way better than that mom and pop store on Main Drag in any small town in North Dakota. Pick one out. I don't care which one it is. Pick one out. And that's where the money should go. You can't tell them that they have to close up shop. You can't tell them that everything shuts off at 10 o'clock. You can't tell them all these things and expect them to not be compensated for it. Because we as taxpayers tell them one thing, and then we need to back it on the other side. That's what needs to happen. When we come back, I saw this person grow into a leader. I always knew she was going to be one of the strongest leaders North Dakota's ever had. Well, now she's showing that. She really is. Callie Peterson runs, and she's the editor of North Dakota Living, a magazine that many of us know about, and heck, all of us know about. Does a beautiful job. So let's talk to her about it when we come back to Down the Road.
Howdy folks, it's the County Line Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our Hey Bossin' breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at our salad bar, sink your teeth into our famous County Line burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spoon rattling pie with a comb roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the gang. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the County Line.
Since opening in Hebron in 1940, Dakota Community Bank and Trust has been your hometown bank. Our mission has been to provide modern banking convenience with old-fashioned hometown service. We've grown with the communities we serve through year-round events, countless sponsorships, and nearly 7,000 hours of volunteering each year. Learn more about our 80-year history at dakotacommunitybank.com.
Jeez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
For the greatest selection and full menu offering, it's the Four Seasons Restaurant and Ice Cream Parlor in Garrison. Succulent sandwiches, big breakfast served all day, and delicious desserts. Easy access in and out for campers and RVs. The Four Seasons Restaurant at the top of Main Street, Garrison.
Are you a thrill seeker, sightseer, or day tripper? The Ford Bronco Sport SUV is built for you. Four Bears Casino is giving away a 2021 Ford Bronco Sport loaded with a ton of interior space, safari-style roof, smooth suspension for any terrain, and easy-to-clean surfaces. Qualify now just by playing your favorite slots at Four Bears Casino. Double points on Sundays. Also get in on Super Senior Wednesdays, slot turning Thursdays, and hot seats on Wednesdays and Thursdays. Spin into Four Bears Casino and Lodge for chances to win.
Some things in life are hard. That's why banking shouldn't be. Cornerstone Bank.
Good to have you still going down the road with us. You know, you can see it. You can see it from afar when somebody just has the kind of talent that is going to take them up different levels. I want to give some full disclosure here. I got a chance to work with Callie Peterson. I got a chance to work with her on a daily basis. She was the producer of my radio show. One of the best hires and one of the luckiest hires I ever had. So let me just show you my bias in the beginning. And that position is a position that you grow out of. She grew out of it, and she grew out of it early. And then she took a position that she's doing a wonderful job at. She's the editor of North Dakota Living magazine. Must reading for me, and I know must reading for a lot of you. Let's bring her in. Callie, good to have you going down the road with us.
Hey, Joel. Nice to be on your TV show for the first time. I'm proud to have worked with you, and thanks for the kind words. I think that every experience I have had has led me to where I am today, so I have you in big measure to thank for where I am today as editor of North Dakota Living, so thank you.
So let's just begin with this. If I come up short, or if I gamble away some money with what you're making now, can I borrow some? Can I get some? I mean, you've got to be a big shot, girl. You are there.
Oh, well, I don't know about that. Like I said, everything's a stepping stone, right? And I'm pretty lucky to be where I'm at. And I think, you know, just in the middle of this pandemic, I have been so fortunate my paychecks haven't been affected, that, you know, our North Dakota's electric cooperatives have found a way to pay our employees through this, and it hasn't been easy, and people have lost jobs and incomes, and I'm just feeling really grateful for that as well.
Way to go. You had to say something intelligent when I was just kind of BSing around. But, you know, you are my barometer for the rural area. I mean, I call you often, we talk often. How is it going? Because North Dakota Living does a lot of pieces on the people that you serve with the rural electrics. How's Main Street going?
You know, Joel, I think there was a lot of concerns in Main Street even before this pandemic. Our rural grocery stores were closing. You know, we were losing people to urban areas, and they were leaving North Dakota for better opportunities. And as bad as this pandemic has been, the lives we've lost, I mean, we could go on and on about the hurt that the COVID-19 has caused our rural communities. What it has done is finally kind of unearthed and brought into clear picture the issues we have had in rural America even before this pandemic. You know, our supply chain system is broken. I mean, you and I know, you probably do it just as my husband Darren and I do. I can buy a half of beef from my neighbor down the road, but there's a lot of people in North Dakota that don't even know how to do that or understand. So then they're going in the middle of this pandemic to the grocery store, paying $6-7 for a pound of hamburger. And so again, it's been a kind of a rebirth in, I think, local. My husband is a real estate agent. My sister is too. you would be surprised. I don't know if you've heard this, you probably have, Joel, but there's been a lot of people from outside of North Dakota that have been buying homes and farmsteads and properties sight unseen, and wanting to get out of some of those urban areas. And so I think the pandemic has highlighted a lot of opportunities for us in rural North Dakota. The challenge now is, how do we capture that? How do we capitalize on that?
So one of the things that you've worked on and your organization has worked on is making sure services are available. And I know that in your mother's life, working at North Dakota Farmers Union, that's been a big issue as well. So your family's been involved in this for a long time. What I'm getting at here and building up to is, it's one thing to go pay that $6 for a pound of hamburger. It's another thing to not have a place to go to buy that 6 pounds of hamburger. What are you seeing out there?
Yeah, so actually before the pandemic, the last legislative session, our organization, the North Dakota Rural Electric Cooperative Association, through our rural development arm, we created the Rural Development Center, and it's a partnership between North Dakota's electric cooperatives and the telecommunications cooperatives, like the wonderful Beck Communications. That is the reason that I'm also, on your show today. But they started studying the issue of the closures of our rural grocery stores. We took this issue to the legislature. They actually picked it and agreed to study it in the interim to learn, why are these stores closing. And actually, because of the pandemic, this issue has gotten national attention. It's been front and center. Some of the CARES Act money actually has been funneled through the North Dakota Department of Agriculture to kind of help invest in these rural grocery stores and the reasons they're closing. There's old aging equipment that needs to be replaced. When the cooler shuts down and you're not clearing a profit already at the Steel grocery store, you're not going to be able to fix it. So there's a lot of, and also, when Mr. Joe retires as the grocery store owner in small town, Kidder County, there's not a lot of people that are jumping up and down to basically run a grocery store that they're not going to be making an income or a profit in. So again, with some of this funding through the CARES Act, it's kind of helped revitalize some of the grocery stores and pay for some things. And then also, we're stuck at home through a lot of this. I think we as consumers have also realized the importance of having those local stores in our local communities. And, I think there's just more of a mindset of supporting local when you can.
Kelly, North Dakota was an older than average state before all of this. When you think about that, you think about rural areas. I mean, you go to Fargo, you go to Bismarck, you see energy, you see people like yourself who are going out there and making a difference. And granted, you live in a rural area, you make the drive like I do to work, but that doesn't change the fact that pick a small town, pick any town you want. Pick Wishick, pick Hankinson, pick Matador. You're going to find an elderly community is what you're going to find. How are they doing, or how do you think they're doing mentally? How do you think, they're not going out to Christmas in a crowd of 20. What are you seeing when you talk to them?
Yeah, it's been a hard year for everyone, for my neighbors, for elderly population especially. I think of, we've got a nursing home here in Steele, and what those people are going through. Our local kindergarten class, actually, my sister-in-law is the teacher. She's done and adopt a grandparent through our local nursing home. So, it's so important to check in with those people, even strangers. They might not have family in the area. I'm actually a emergency medical responder for our local ambulance, and we've been on a lot of COVID-related calls this year, so that's compounding things. But I think at first, maybe some of the mentality was it's not going to hit us here in rural North Dakota, but I think we've seen now, we know that it has, and I think people are taking it seriously and doing what they have to do. But there is some mental health issues and some loneliness that goes with that. So, I think we are going to feel the impacts of this pandemic many years down the road, long after it's over and the vaccine has been rolled out. There's going to be long-lasting impacts for sure. Yeah,
you're right. You're dead on right. Let me throw this at you as well, and I see it come at me through my radio show. People miss going to church. I don't know if you've heard, but they really miss, my aunt, my uncle, others, you know, they miss that fellowship. They miss that, hey, afterwards I brought the hot dish kind of a thing that can go along with church. But that's kind of been a gut punch too.
Absolutely. But in that vein, I have to commend, the pastors, the priests. There has been a lot of religious leaders and leaders in the faith community that have stepped up and said, don't come to church, stay home. We want you to be safe. We can worship safely and we will be together again. This isn't forever. So I think there has been some real leaders in all aspects of community, the business community, faith leaders, all sorts of aspects that have really come together and revealed who North Dakotans are and who we are.
So if people want to get North Dakota Living, how do they get it?
Yeah, we could talk for hours, Joel, I know, but just go to
this again. We're going to do this again.
Go to ndliving.com. There's subscription information there. Again, ndliving.com. We'd love for you to subscribe to our publication. And a good friend of yours and mine, he's got a young daughter, I think, and that was the one thing on our Christmas list this year was a subscription to North Dakota Living. So I hope there's a lot more out there.
That is cool. Well, I can tell you this, as a subscriber, as somebody who gets it, get it, because it's absolutely fabulous reading and it'll put a smile on your face. That's what I love about it the most, just like you do. Callie, it is so much fun talking to you. Let's do it again soon, okay?
Absolutely. Thanks, Joel. Merry Christmas.
You bet. Merry Christmas to you. Callie Peterson, ladies and gentlemen. When we come back, some closing thoughts. We're going to talk about Christmas. Exactly what Callie and I were talking about. What's it going to be like for you? Not the same, I'm sure, but let's talk about it right after this as we go down the road.
Howdy, folks. It's a County Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our Hey Boss breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at a salad bar. Sink your teeth into our famous County Line burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spur rattling pie with a comb roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the game. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the county line.
Hi, I'm Dennis Haugen, along with my sons Andy and Mike, and we're showing our support for wind energy in North Dakota.
Wind energy has provided farmers like us with a steady stream of income that's not tied to the weather like crops and cattle are.
Another bonus is that wind farm owners are required to maintain the roads leading up to the turbines. Because of that, oftentimes these roads are the best in the county.
Wind energy is good for landowners, it's good for the land, it's good for our economy, and it's good for North Dakota.
Capital City Restaurant Supply is your one-stop shop for quality restaurant products for the large to small kitchens. Commercial grade restaurant and bar supplies, limb game processing equipment, refrigeration, dinnerware, and smallware. We sell everything including the kitchen sink from trusted manufacturers for the chef and all of us. Open to the public since 1971, we are veteran owned and North Dakota proud. Let us take care of your restaurant and home kitchen needs today by visiting us at 1414 Interstate Loop in Bismarck or on the web at capitalcityrestaurantsupply.com.
My wife was diagnosed with early stage Alzheimer's. We talked about it and we kind of decided we'd be a little bit proactive and try to start making provisions. So we started looking here, and Eventide worked out to be pretty much the perfect answer. I guess I didn't expect it to be so nice. The staff here are terrific. We enjoy it.
They say when the going gets tough, the tough get going. At OK Tire, we're here to keep you going. From Firestone tires and replacements to retreads and even Firestone tracks, we have you covered. Our certified Firestone experts are ready to get you back up and running, no matter if you're on site or in the field, saving you time and money. OK Tire, we keep the tough going.
Now is the best time to plan for your 2021 farm equipment needs. North Dakota-based Summers Manufacturing is currently offering early order savings. Take advantage of big savings on North America's broadest tillage line, including the Super Kohler Samurai and the innovative VRT Renegade, as well as the best built, best backed land rollers in the industry. Talk to your Summers dealer today or go to summersmfg.com to learn more about early order savings available on all Summers equipment.
You know, it truly is always good going down the road with you. I want to leave you with a couple of thoughts, couple of comments, and some things I think we all can agree on. Christmas this year is going to be a way different Christmas than it has before. The pandemic has changed that. In my world, I've got 7 siblings that all live right around here yet, and we're all very close. We get together. Everybody's got kids. Some got grandkids. And we all get together. The noise level is immense. We get out and we do some ice fishing, build an ice rink, get out there and watch the kids skate around, have a little bonfire. Those are nice times. Those are good times. Those are times you remember. It's probably not going to happen this year, right? It's going to be smaller groups. It's going to be groups that have tested or have already been positive, so they feel comfortable being around each other. In other words, there's going to be no 20-pound turkeys with a ham right next to it. It's going to be a different year. It's too bad. I realize it. It's not what everybody remembers as Christmas. And it's not in line with all of those traditions that we have as Christmas. But for those people who have made that decision, for those people who have had to make the tough call and say, you know what, we just can't do it. We can't make that happen. It doesn't mean it's not going to be Christmas. Right? It's still going to be Christmas. When you go to my house, the house is still decorated. When you go to my house, you're going to see the Christmas trees up. When you go to my house, you're still going to see something that puts you in the attitude of Christmas. And it should make you smile. It should. I hope you're doing the same. I really do. I hope you're not just completely writing off Christmas. We can talk about the meaning of Christmas for Christians like me all the time. We can do that. But what it is all about to me is making sure this year, what it's all about to me is making sure next year I have as many of those people around me as I possibly can. Good riding with you, folks.